Hi there, this is Jonathan Ginsberg. I'm a personal bankruptcy attorney here in Atlanta, Georgia, and I wanted to talk to you today about situations where Chapter 13 does not make sense. In other words, it makes more sense to either look at Chapter 7 or not to file at all. And here's what I mean by that. When I meet with a new client, the first thing I look at is, can I squeeze this person into a Chapter 7? Chapter 7, in my view, is a much more efficient form of bankruptcy than Chapter 13. It's over in 5 or 6 months versus 5 or 6 years, or 5 years rather, for a Chapter 13. It's much less intrusive. There's no employer deduction in a Chapter 7, whereas there is so in Chapter 13. I think the biggest thing is that when you're in Chapter 13, for the next 5 years, anything you want to do, buy a house, buy a car, make any significant repairs to your home, you've got to get permission from the Chapter 13 trustee. So Chapter 13 has its place, but if you can avoid going into a 13, you probably ought to avoid that. But there are cases where Chapter 13 really does not make a lot of sense, and here's some of those situations. One would be if you have a situation where you are earning relatively low amounts of money, meaning for an individual about $45,000, for a family of 4, household income of less than $70,000. You have mostly unsecured debt, meaning credit card, medical bills, personal loans, that sort of thing. And you have very little in the way of assets, meaning that you don't have much equity in your house or a car, and essentially you just need to get rid of debt and start over again. Chapter 7 is a much better option than Chapter 13. Yes, you can go into a Chapter 13 and pay back a very small amount, 1 or 2 cents on the dollar, but again, why go through the 5-year process if you don't have to do so? A second thing would be if you're trying to surrender something. In other words, you've got a house you can't afford anymore, a vehicle or a lease you want to get rid of. Chapter 7 is probably a better option than Chapter 13. Chapter 13 is really designed more for people who are trying to keep all their property. They just need to restructure the payment plan or the payments. It's really not so much designed for people who want to surrender and start over again. That's more Chapter 7 territory. And the third situation I see that Chapter 13 does not make a lot of sense would be a situation where your income is somewhat unsteady, meaning that you have a job, but your job is maybe temporary or seasonal, or you're not sure you're going to have that job in a year. So if your income is not real steady, Chapter 13 probably doesn't make a lot of sense, because Chapter 13 assumes a regular, steady paycheck for the next 5 years. And obviously not everybody can guarantee that, but if you know for certain that your job is coming to an end, that you don't have steady income, Chapter 13 is probably not a good place to go. And I will tell you that sometimes we make come to the conclusion that bankruptcy of any type is not the right decision. You may have debt issues, but Chapter 7, Chapter 13 don't always provide the perfect solution. And there have been plenty of times where I'll tell somebody, you've got some debt problems here, but I don't think a 13 makes any sense. I don't think a Chapter 7 makes any sense. You're much better off trying to figure out a way to get this debt paid, to negotiate with your creditors and so forth, but don't go into bankruptcy. It doesn't always make sense. So just because you've kind of come to the end of your rope and you're talking to a bankruptcy lawyer doesn't mean that bankruptcy is absolutely the option you need to take. So again, you need to look at the bankruptcy option with a clear set of eyes, consider all possibilities, and talk to your lawyer carefully about what makes the most sense for you in your particular situation. So hope this has been helpful. If you like these videos, please subscribe to my YouTube channel here, like this video, and check me out on social media as well as my website and blog. So until next time, this is Jonathan Ginsberg, and we'll see you soon.